Good afternoon, camera. How are you? I came back on Wednesday.
So, what do you think stammering is all about? Because I am very confused even now. I'm approaching 60 and I've been stammering all these years, but I'm still not sure what it is all about.
Yeah. So I think stammering is all in the mind.
On whose minds? Your mind or my mind?
I think it is in the mind of. I mean, it's in our mind. It's in the people who stammers minds, the stammerer's mind. But it's really in our mind because of other people who have made funny faces at us while we were growing up. And then we sort of began to assume that it's a wrong thing.
I wish some therapists could sort out their faces for them. Both of us do not represent any organization, and we are just two stammerers, and we are just sharing our ideas. So, Dhruv, what do you think stammering is?
I think that stammering is something that. So I think that there is a genetic basis for stammering. That we have something inside us, some wiring in our brain, that causes us to at times glitch, like buffer while we're speaking. But I think that what stammering, like modern day stammering, or at least how stammering is viewed today, is entirely everything is not to do that at all. I think that different way of speaking, occasionally buffering while speaking or glitching while speaking, that is a completely normal thing. That has been around in humans and been around in animals as well. I think chimpanzees also stammer. I think I read some study. But I think what stammering is today is, as you know, the analogy of Sheehan's iceberg, which you can Google. Stammering today is everything below the iceberg, which is all of our shame, guilt, and fear and anxiety that we have developed because of society and because of other people's reaction to our stammering, that causes us to have a reaction to that buffering, to that glitch. And it's that reaction that is the what I would call stammering. And is that reaction that can be, I guess, do I dare say cured? The reaction, not the actual stammering itself, but it's our own reaction to the stammering that I think can be, I guess I would go as far to say cured.
I think it's a very common saying in many places that stammering mindset can definitely be cured. And that should be the real purpose of any intervention.
Yeah.
It seems that stammering is also a search for acceptance, a search for perfection, but unfortunately we look for the solutions in wrong places. We keep on looking for acceptance in other people's reactions without having accepted ourselves, and this creates a bit of problem. We keep on looking for acceptance in other groups, in other people, and as far as perfection is concerned, I think instead of looking for perfection where it could be found, we keep on looking for perfection on the superficial surface, and therefore we waste a lot of time and energy. So I believe you have just come back from States.
Yes, I have.
So what all did you see there? What all happened there? Would you like to share something from your journey in America?
Sure. So I was actually in 3 cities. I was in New York, Atlanta, and then Columbus, Ohio. I saw many things. I saw one really, really fascinating thing that I saw. We were in Atlanta, and we went to the aquarium there, and I saw the most fascinating species of fish, and not even jellyfish and sharks and turtles and like marine life, and it's like we have humans have dreamt and envisioned what aliens would look like. And you want to see what aliens would look like if you go in the water. It's crazy how the shapes life takes. So fascinating. So yeah, that was one a fascinating experience. I also went to 2 conferences. The National Stuttering Association conference.
I want to stop you just for a second and ask you one thing. Why is it that we human beings find diversity in marine life so attractive, but diversity in human life not so attractive? We find it rather troublesome when people speak with a different accent, or when people look different, have a different color. Why does that become a problem? How is it that we enjoy diversity in marine life, in nature, but not in human beings?
I think it's conditioning.
Will you agree with this observation?
I 100% agree. Also, actually, in Atlanta, we actually also went to the Civil Rights Museum, and we saw
where the Rosa Bank made a protest when she did not give her bus seat.
Yes, so they talked about that, and they talked about like that whole struggle, the whole movement, African Americans in the U.S. and how they fought and died for their cause. And we basically also saw there was this thing called there was a group of people called the Freedom Riders. When the U.S. passed the law that all men, women are created equal, no matter of their color, of their skin, there were these people called the Freedom Riders who took a bus from the north of the U.S., maybe New York or something, and to the south. And in the south, you still had a lot of racial issues. And the Freedom Riders bus got burnt. Many of them got beaten. Many of them, I think, even got put in jail and other various heinous crimes.
How many years back did that happen?
1970s? Maybe 60s or 70s?
About 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Difficult to believe that America was facing these problems as recent as that.
Oh no, but America's facing their problems today. If you see on the news, like you hear all the time about African American men getting shot down by white police. It's still happening. Just recently, while I was there in July, there was this African American caretaker of this guy who was autistic. I think this white autistic guy, and the autistic guy had basically come out on the street, and the autistic guy was holding some elephant or something, made look like a gun, and the African American caretaker was basically telling him that like this whole thing was shot on video. He was telling him, put the gun. The African American guy was putting his hands up, and he was telling the autistic guy, "Don't worry, put your hands up. Everything's gonna be fine. Put your hands up." And then the next thing you see is this cop shoots the African American guy in the leg.
Oh my God.
And not even the autistic guy. The autistic guy didn't even have his hands up. He was like this. The African American guy had his hands up.
Yes.
But he got shot. And there's lots of questions about it. Was it motivated by race?
Yes. So it seems that stammering is a smaller subset of a bigger problem of human nature, where we tend to divide things in the 2 camps, us and they.
Yeah.
And any difference contributes to that division.
Yeah.
So what all did happen in your journey in America?
Should we talk about stuttering or
Anything?
Everything.
Anything. Whatever.
Yeah, so I attended these two conferences. You were talking about stuttering. I attended the National Stuttering Association conference in Atlanta, and then I attended the I think it's like 56 something conference, and I also attended the Friends convention in Columbus, Ohio, and I attended the NSA self-help group meeting in New York. They call it a chapter. Interesting things. The NSA is moving towards a new direction. Their tagline, I think, now is meeting the needs of today while searching for the answers of tomorrow.
And by that they mean funding research for drugs for stammering?
I think so. I think they're basically looking for a medical cure, and their chair, Mr. Jerry Maguire, I think he's a notable person in the field of medicine, and he's basically leading a charge to find a cure. Yeah.
So if they find a drug, how will that affect a profession of speech therapy where stammering is concerned? How will it affect the stammerers? What are your thoughts?
So my biggest concern, I was actually reading an article recently that was talking about they were doing a similar kind of testing and searching for a cure of being gay, and there was a huge pushback from the gay community saying, why are you finding a cure for us? I mean, we have a vibrant community.
Leave us alone.
Leave us alone. We, if you find a cure, we're not going to have enough people who are gay. This is a problem. So
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exact same way. And I was reading an article that was talking about, and the gay rights movement has been fighting this for a very long time, selective abortions. Because if you can identify the genes,
which makes people gay,
or makes people stammer, then you will abort that baby,
right?
And then you will end up with a population that's not gay and doesn't stammer, and
then you'll end up with a population which will be Caucasian, 6 feet 6 inches,
blue eyes.
Every one of them will be a rocket scientist.
This is the scariest part about selective abortions and about it's called eugenics. I don't know much about it, but yeah.
Yes.
And I would not. And it's the exact same thing as like if there was some mad dolphin, because dolphins are very smart, and this mad dolphin went around the ocean and tried to, I don't know, abort all of the marine life that did not look a certain way, and then maybe one day you would just no longer have jellyfish. Why would you want to live in a world with no jellyfish?
But how does one decide when to stop looking for a cure to minimize human suffering?
So,
because on the other hand, we know that that people who stammer, they also suffer.
That's true.
Their suffering, their suffering is as real as anything else.
Yeah.
And so when should we ask doctors to stop looking for a cure for their suffering?
I think that the suffering of people who stammer is very similar to the suffering of people who are in the civil rights movement, and even in the gay rights movement, and any other form of movement where the mainstream doesn't understand or doesn't want to understand a certain group of people, and you have that division of us and they. And I think that's where the suffering happens, because the they are not accepted by the us, and all they want is acceptance. And I think perhaps rather than looking, like we were talking about earlier, perhaps rather than looking for a drug to cure it, perhaps the cure is society itself.
Changing human attitude.
Changing the average person's attitude. So saying, like a parent having a child who stammers, and this parent hearing that child stammer for the first time, and then saying, "Oh, my child stammers. He's one of those kids who stammers. Okay. And that's it. The conversation finishes. And there's no search to fix, cure, therapy. There's none of that.
Would you like to talk about your own journey, your own search for healing or wholeness?
Sure.
Starting from childhood.
We're going to be here all day.
We have got the whole day. You don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah, that's
You're going
true.
to get good lunch. Luxury.
We have time. Wow.
Yes.
I think having time is
I think stammers are the only people who have got a lot of time.
Yeah.
So they keep on repeating themselves and they keep on.
Maybe that's why we repeat ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. I started to stammer, I think, at the age of 8. At that time, I was in Hong Kong. My first recollection of stammering is, I believe, when I was raising my hand in class. And I just felt something was weird. And I always thought that because there was some other boy in my class who stammers, that's why I got stammering. I felt like he passed it on to me, and because I was actually making fun of him, I felt like I learned how to stammer. And then, just growing up through school, I think in 4th and 5th grade, I realized that stammering is a problem. I realized that I began to struggle with my stammering. I think after 5th grade, I stopped raising my hand in class, ever. So from 5th grade until even throughout university, I'd never raised my hand in class, because I always thought that my speech would affect other people. So I remember giving speeches where I was just blocking so much, putting my eyes down, being too afraid to look up. And if I did look up, I would just get people looking away, or blank faces, or even the teachers being very confused. I never gave a presentation in class at school about stammering. I'm so impressed by the kids nowadays who get up in front of their whole class in school and give presentations on stuttering, on stammering. I think it's so brave. And I think because we have because we have great speech therapists who understand stuttering, because we have great self-help groups who encourage these kids, I think that's why times are changing. But
So
I did face a
then
lot.
during adolescence, did you try some therapy?
Yeah, definitely. I was actually, I was privileged enough for my parents to be able to afford good private therapy. I was actually in Japan, and my parents had gotten a speech therapist from New Zealand, right? So one would say I was getting the best speech therapy, right? My parents were paying a bomb for that 1 hour of speech therapy.
He used to come to Japan?
No. She was living in Japan before already,
Okay,
but she was from New Zealand. I don't know why.
Okay.
So she would come to our house, private speech therapy, and basically we would sit on the floor, and she would show me these cards. And she would say, okay, so now, make a sentence with these cards. One card would have a king,
Right.
one would have a car, one would have something else. You have to, the king who drove the car.
Right. Yes.
But she would say, speak in a very slow way, in a fluent way. So I did that. And with her, I would never stammer.
Right. Yeah.
And from my recollection, that's basically what we focused on. We focused on speaking slowly, speaking fluently, and that's it. And so with her, I would never stammer, but then when I would go to school, I would still not raise my hand in class. I would stammer a lot if I had to speak. If I had to read out loud, it'd be the worst thing in the world. So I wish, I can talk about what I wish, but I got other speech therapy too, but I wish that she had told me that it was okay to stammer. I wish that she had made me voluntarily stammer. I wish that she had helped my parents understand that stammering cannot be cured. I think she believed that stammering can be cured. And I think she believed that she was doing a really good job because with her I would never stammer. So
After that, when was your next appointment with the therapy?
I was in Mumbai, and we would come. So at that time we were living abroad. I would come back to Mumbai every summer, and then we went to another speech therapist. Also with her, I never stammered. In the therapy, she would make me read books, absolutely fluent. I think my mom. I think she told my mom that maybe Dhruv is just doing it to get attention. Like Dhruv doesn't actually stammer. So actually, I think on that same trip, I have this vivid memory of us being my mom and I in the shopper stop. I think it was in Andheri or Bandra or somewhere, and we were in the elevator. And I was basically asking my mom some question, and I was stammering a lot. And there were people there. And I think my mom got a little bit, because I think she just received advice from a speech therapist that maybe I'm doing it for attention, that I don't really stammer, and here I am stammering. So I think she thought that I was, that I was doing it for attention, and that, so she, got a bit upset. And impatient with me, and I think that made me realize mistakenly realize even more that stammering is wrong, and made me shut up. And then actually, I think my next adventure with speech therapy happened in university. I was probably in sophomore or junior year, and I was really scared, and I was like, I need help. I'm never going to get a job with my stuttering.
This was in the States?
In the States. Illinois. University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign.
Right.
And I didn't know about any self-help groups in the U.S. I didn't know anybody else who stammers. And I went to the speech and language or speech and hearing department. And I called them, and they said, "Yeah, we conduct group therapy. I think they said you can come once for free, and then every other time we'll charge you $12 an hour or something," which for me was a very big deal because I was working at a job, part-time job. I was making like $6 an hour or something. So I was like, shit, 2 hours of work for 1 hour of therapy. So I went there, and it was a group, and we were all people who stammer. And there was a Japanese guy, there was some American people, all stammering, also severe. I was trying my best to control my stammering because I did not want to seem like I'm a severe stammerer. But even then, so I actually just went once, and I tried to, and then I never went back. I was too scared. I felt like if I would go there, I would get worse. And they also never told me anything about acceptance.
Then next adventure
with stammering was so I graduated from college. I at that point in time I was living in China, and then my father had opened an Indian restaurant in China, so I basically took over that restaurant and I became the manager. And I was a 21-year-old manager of a 101 seat restaurant with about 12 to 14 staff members. And we had approximately 50 guests a day, a lot of phone calls, takeout orders. So I was talking a lot. And I basically did that from about July 2009 till July 2013. And at somewhere along in October of 2012, I had enough. I was stuttering a lot. I would answer the phone, and when we answer the phone, we had a protocol that we say, thank you for calling Vastu, how can I help you? And I would say that like, hello, thank you for. By that time, the person was like, hello, I want to place an order. So I just keep okay, yes, okay. So what do you want? Okay, chicken tikka masala, garlic naan. Can I have your address? And it would, I have a busy restaurant. I have my staff looking at me for instruction. I'm talking on the phone. I actually have times where I've given the phone to my staff member and say, hold on a second, give the phone, because I just cannot talk. So I basically had enough, and I Googled it, and I don't know how I found, but I think I Googled like stuttering cure or stuttering treatment or something. And I found a website called stutteringtreatment.org, which was the American Institute for Stuttering website. And so my next adventure with therapy was I called them. I had a consultation with them, and they said, yes, come, we can help you. So then my father paid them a lot of money. Like we tried to transfer the money beforehand. And then I booked my tickets and I went to New York in January 2013. And it was a 3-week intensive therapy program for adults who stutter.
It was based on fluency shaping techniques, fluency shaping approach?
Not entirely. They did have a part which is fluency shaping for about 2 days, I think. Mm-hmm. But we focused on, so actually, well, one of the first things they told me when I went there is you have to accept yourself. And they're the ones who told me this phrase, you are, they labeled me, you are a person who stutters. You are a PWS. And when I first read that, I said, what? It sounds like, you know what it sounds like? I was thinking of prisoner of war. Yes. I said, why are we? I know I'm a person. Mm-hmm. Why do I have to call myself a person who? Mm-hmm. Am I a person? I mean, I'm a person who lives, person who walks, yes. Person who talks, yes. Person who plays basketball. Yes. I just call myself a basketball player.
And sometimes stammers.
And I stammer.
So why are they emphasizing so much that one dimension of our life?
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, I said, okay. And I think in the very beginning, I was very skeptical. Mm-hmm. Because I said, look, 3 weeks. Are you really going to cure me? And in a way, I would sit back at the therapy session. It was group therapy. It was about 8 of us. I would sit back and I would watch, and I'd be, let's watch how you're going to cure me. What way are you going to cure me? I paid you a lot of money. Let's see.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And I would basically challenge a lot. Like I remember in therapy, I would challenge a lot. Mm-hmm. But one thing I really liked was they forced me to go out of my comfort zone. Right. So one thing I loved about their program was they made me go outside to stores and do voluntary stuttering on purpose. Just talk to people, hold eye contact with them. Stutter on purpose. Sometimes do bouncing, sometimes do prolongation. So I like that because it gave me confidence that I can stutter in front of people, and those people don't care. And we also went to a park and did stuttering interviews, and we basically asked people, what do you think about stuttering? What is your honest opinion? Do you know anybody who stutters? And most people were like, you know what, it's okay. And that was the first time that I realized that it's really okay to stutter.
Mm-hmm. So what happened next?
So
the gains of that therapy, how long did they last?
It's a really good question. I left that therapy fluent.
Right.
Because those 2 days of the fluency shaping,
yes,
gave me. So basically, like on the very last day of the program, the 3-week intensive, it was called Family and Friends Day. My family were obviously in China, but I Skyped them in. My mom was on Skype, I believe, and it was being recorded. And I basically gave a speech where I was fluent. And I basically said that, look, I now have the technique to pull out of the block whenever I want. Because I learned this thing called pullouts, which is basically you're in a block, and then you can release the tension to go. block. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So I really love that, because I came to the US, spent so much money to be cured, and of course I'm going to take the thing away. Of course I learned acceptance, I learned voluntary stuttering, but I was really enamored by this fluency, because I wanted that my whole life. Yes. And I think also combined with the additional confidence, I felt like I could talk to anybody, say whatever I want to say, and say it fluently. What happened next was I went back to China, went back to the restaurant, and was faced with very challenging situations again that I found challenging. Talking to